But all right, on that note, let's get into talking about the astrology. So on July 5th is really where we're going to start off here, and that's Tuesday actually. It's coming right up. We do have Mars going into Taurus. And with Mars going into Taurus, things are going to be a little less, how do I say this? The momentum and the intensity of Mars and Aries, because Mars is actually where it should be. I mean, when Mars is in Aries, it's exalted. It is in its sign. It is where it should be. Things feel like they're going, like we can just take off the ground running and go for what we go for. Do I know about Vedic astrology? I know a little bit about Vedic astrology. I don't know enough to talk about it, I would say. I don't like to go off about things that I really don't have all the knowledge on. But I do know my own Vedic astrology a little bit. But I definitely want to spend some time studying that in the future. Well, but now we have Mars going into Taurus, and it's going to be a really felt shift in terms of energy. Because our energy is going to go from like go, like let's get this done, like having this boundless amount of almost like, because we also have Jupiter in Aries, you have to think there's a lot of faith and energy there about getting things done, about making things happen. And like I have this idea, I'm going for it, and like it's really shoot first, think later kind of thing. But with Mars moving into Taurus, if you've been wanting for some time to rest, this is going to be that time. This is going to be the time where things are a little less compulsive. I would say don't sit down and get lazy, because it's not going to feel good though. In terms of, I just started this. I'm not used to streaming enough yet to have realized that I probably should. Oh shoot. Hold on one second. I'm getting used to all the screen things that are up here, but let me move my webcam to the corner so that we can really look a little bit more at this. Okay. All right. There we go. So that's kind of, you can see what I'm talking about there. So we have Mars going into Taurus there. We have this less compulsive energy. It's less driven. It's harder to gain the momentum, but we're going to have to somehow keep it up. We have to keep on the momentum that we've been on. But I would say it's more about prioritizing where you're throwing your energy and what you're putting energy into. And if you guys are just, joining, we're going over just a general astrology thing here. It's July 2022, and we're just on that first day of July 5th when Mars moves into Taurus, and we're going to go over Mercury moving into Cancer in a second. Mercury in Cancer. So yeah, I'm going to go over the general because we want to get more in depth with each of the rising signs. So I'm going to stop talking about Mars and Taurus, but also something I really want to mention about Mars and Taurus, which I think a lot of you guys, especially if you're in America, or even if you're not, I'm sure everybody found this to be an interesting moment. The last time Mars moved into Taurus was January 6th, 2021. Or was it 2020? I don't know. Whenever that, it was 2021. When all that happened, that was the last time we had Mars move into Taurus. And so I bring this up because I think it's a really good example of like losing the momentum. Like they might have gone at this. I mean, when you think about it, like it's not like they actually ended up killing the people that they went there to go kill or like take over, or they had all these like, we're gonna go do this. It's kind of like, and I mean, you can have your own views on this. This is my views on it. But whenever I think of January 6th, all I think of is the South Park, like, they're going to take our goods, they're going to take our jobs. It's that kind of energy. But, like, what are they doing? Not much. Like, nothing really ended up happening because it was kind of lazy. It was kind of half-assed. Like, it didn't get there. So that's kind of like a really good example of Mars and Taurus. Like, you might want to continue what you were doing with Mars and Aries, but then you're going to be like, never mind. It's not really working out that way. So yeah, let's move on to Mercury in Cancer though. Mercury in Cancer is an interesting and also really nice placement in my opinion. It's very nurturing. It's really like how Mercury is all about our energy. It's all about our, it's, how do I describe this? Like, I'm trying to think about it, like here, looking at my notes here. But Mercury is all about, because it's difficult, because I always get Mercury in like a very third house kind of way, because it's about communication, it's about short distance travel, it's about tech, it's about how you're traveling from like short distance stuff, so car, etc. It rules so many freaking things, and Mercury in itself, when it goes into Cancer, really brings a more nurturing aspect of it. How can I take care of these things better? How can I, maybe nurture in the day-to-day? This more general aspect of how I would see Mercury moving into Cancer. I would also say to take care with how you speak and communicate a little bit more. Mercury and Venus in Cancer. I like that, though. Honestly, Venus in Cancer, Mercury in Cancer, I've never had an issue with either. I think it's like it comes across in a softer, more caring way, if I'm coming across well there. So then we have the full moon in Capricorn there on the 13th. So what's interesting, and I feel like I might mention this pretty often in my other videos throughout the years, when the moon is in Capricorn, it is in detriment. There kind of takes away the emotion, the feeling there. And forgive me if I keep taking drinks throughout this, because I noticed yesterday when I was streaming that my AC was making a lot of noise during the recording, so I don't have it on. And I live in Florida. It's really freaking hot out. Thankfully it's raining right now, but forgive me if I continue to drink throughout this. I got tea on tap, I got water, you got it all. And I would say have a big glass of water if you're watching this right now. Get hydrated. It's Cancer season. We all about that hydration, going to the beach, relaxing, taking care of ourselves. So full moon in Capricorn on the 13th there. Let's get into that. This is going to be really interesting. The full moon and the new... I almost said new moon in Capricorn. We already had that. So that's why we're going to talk about the full moon in Capricorn. Go back to the new moon in Capricorn that we had during Capricorn season, what we focus on there. And also, when we had that Venus retrograde in Capricorn, I think it was January 21, or January, February of 21, 22. December through February. Just think that kind of end of the year through February of this year. We had that Venus retrograde in Capricorn. What did that bring up for you? Where did that leave you? What kind of new beginnings? What kind of stuff were you kind of forced to face in a very unemotional way, where you had to take out the emotion there? Because the full moon, again, the moon is in detriment in Capricorn. It's also not really, I would say Venus in Capricorn is kind of it's not in its most exciting, exalted placement when it's there. We'll say that. So when it's in detriment in Capricorn, we are doing what has to be done really in a less emotional state. Because when the moon is in Capricorn, we can kind of leave our emotions at the door and get what needs to be done. We can kind of leave the emotionality behind, because it's very opposite of Cancer, which is all about emotion. Capricorn is a very more serious sign there. So again, what is being illuminated here with this full moon is, what do we have to do when we leave what can we remove our emotions from and get done here? So the 16th here, we have the Mercury Cazimi in Cancer. Interesting. Because when Mercury's at Cazimi, it's most midpoint there, and it's also going to be so close to the sun, because we have the sun in Cancer there. It's getting towards Leo, so it's going to be a really hot kind of, almost like a very clarifying moment out of the haze of summer is kind of how I want to see that. I want to communicate that there. Mercury is going to be combust, and it's going to be very clear what we need to take care of at this time, and we're going to be a lot more able to make decisions surrounding things that maybe Mercury has left us, we've been having issues with in those areas. Depending on where your placement is, depending on where your rising is, etc. I won't get into that exactly now. We're going to get into the risings, Aries through Virgo in a minute. But yeah, so that's going to be a moment of clarity here in terms of, this kind of area. What needs to be met? What do we need? How can we take care of ourselves better? And then on the 18th, I believe we have, what do I have there? Excuse me, Venus into Cancer. I almost said the other thing. We have Venus going into Cancer there on the 18th. Venus is, I don't know, you'll be happy, Rohit, you'll be really happy, because we got Venus in Cancer, and that's always, it feels very nurturing, very confidence boosting. We can gain a lot of, we really focus on our pleasure when Venus is in in the sign that our Venus is in. You'll find that you're going to be able to take care of yourself more. That's really, Venus in Cancer is such a nurturing energy. It's how can I care for you? How can I nurture you? How, can I, it's literally, how can I feed you? Can I hold you? Can I make the space more comfortable for you? How can I get more comfortable? How can I get more comfortable in terms of the things that Venus provide, that Venus is for me? Exactly. Or where that really rules, English, Helen, what that really rules for us. So, It's very, like, I would say it's going to be a lot of focus, and I mean, it's not just because it's gonna hit fourth house specifically for some people, but I always think of Cancer in a very fourth house way, because naturally it is a fourth house ruler. So think of that kind of space of nurturing your home, your family, the closest people around you, and turn that energy inward onto yourself when Venus moves into Cancer. So then we're gonna have, what is it, on the 19th we have Mercury going into Leo. Woo woo, that's going to be pretty interesting. Mercury is all about, yeah, like rationalization, ideas, thinking, communication. And it's going to go into Leo, which is just like, you know, the fixed sign of fire, which is all, you know, this really intense, vital, independent, fiery, like, this is me, like, I don't want to say ego driven, but it's like it's very confident in who it is and in their identity. They're very confident in their identity and in their will to get what they want done and go for what they want. So with that going into Leo, it's going to be, we're going to be really speaking with our, like, with some force behind us. Like, this is how I feel, like, what's up, like it's going to be a time where people are going to say how they feel without maybe thinking so much about how that can hurt, offend other people. You're going to feel very confident, very backed in your own energy and in your own feelings about these things and about whatever it is that you're communicating with Mercury there. So, but it's also going to be really interesting and kind of tense because Leo right now is opposite Saturn in Aquarius. And that's a really, you know, divisive, intense energy. I won't get too deep into that because there's a lot to be spoken about there. But Saturn in Aquarius is... We've been experiencing that. It's been a very divisive, like, what group are you part of? Like, what group are you part of? Like, we have this, we have that going on. So there's going to be this really intense, like, opposite of this is my identity versus that group's identity. And it's, are we a part of a group or are we an individual, is where I think that's going to come out a lot for a lot of people. On the 28th there, we have the new moon in Leo. So this is going to be a really wonderful, just like new creative beginnings, new beginnings for our identity, for our willpower, for what really, you know, lights our fire, being in fixed fire in general. You have to think, like, what in this fixed energy of Leo, which is all about, like, who am I, like, what am I doing, like, what can I bring, like, who, like, all that kind of, like, fifth house stuff of creativity, of, you know, of pleasure, of sex, of all those things where it naturally rules. Like, we're going to be having this kind of new beginnings there. So, really interesting stuff there. We also have Jupiter going retrograde the same day. That's not that great. It is going retrograde in Aries. It'll eventually retrograde back into Pisces, where it should be. We've had this taste of Jupiter in Aries, which has been very, like, I have faith in myself. I'm going for it. Like, we're going to do this and we're going to do that and I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to do that. And it's been very, like, lucky in that sense of, like, we're riding on this wave of, like, I'm driving myself into where the future that I want. But when Jupiter goes retrograde, our faith in ourselves is really going to be tested, and we're going to continue to ask ourselves, like, can I actually accomplish this? Is this something that I can do?